Hello bakers. Today we're going to be making a really beautiful and delicious apple pie. This one is an absolute classic and what I think is the best apple pie. This is the full video for the apple pie, how to make it from scratch, but there are different components to the apple pie. So we've got the short crust pastry, we've got the caramel, we've got the filling, and we've got the crumble. There are individual videos for those if you want to use them for different recipes. The links for those are in the description below. To make this amazing pie, you're going to need some short crust pastry, or you can also use a store-bought one if you like. We've also got some caramel, some filling, some apple filling here, and then the beautiful crumble. One last thing, you're gonna need a pie dish, and I've just lightly greased mine. Let's go straight to the pie crust. This recipe, we're going to be using our hands. Now, usually you'd use a mixer or some sort of a processor for this, but not everyone has one of those, so I thought what better way than to do it all ourselves on the bench with our hands. And I guarantee once you make it, you won't be buying the pre-made ones at the store anymore. There's only a few ingredients, so let me take you through what you'll need. We've got an egg here, and we're actually just gonna use the yolk, so we'll separate that soon. And then we've got a little bit of sugar, and we're not gonna use all of this or the salt either over here, we're just gonna use a pinch. We've got some butter, some flour, and some cold water. And for the exact quantities, I'll leave them in the description below, or you can head to lebonbaker.com for the full recipe. This recipe is really easy, and I guarantee you, once you've made it, you won't be buying the store-bought ones anymore. First thing we're gonna do is take our flour here and just pour it all onto the bench top, and we're gonna make a little well in the middle. Next, we're going to put the egg, the water, and just sprinkle around the salt and the sugar into the center of the well, and then we're going to give it a whisk, and we're not going to incorporate the flour just yet. So watch me as I go. So to separate the egg yolk from the white, I find it easier to crack the egg in half and then use both the shells just to move across the yolk from one side to the other, and as you do that, all the egg white will fall into the bowl below. So that's good. One egg yolk right here. Egg yolk, water, give him a little whisk. Then we can start to add in our butter chunks. So just place them in the well. If your well breaks, that's fine. In we go. Now what we need to start doing is putting in some of the flour into the center, not all of it all at once, and then we want to start squeezing the butter and the well. So just continuing to squeeze the butter and the ingredients together, and then try and keep it in the center, and then just keep incorporating a bit more flour and then squeezing again, and just continue this over and over until it starts to form a dough. So as you can see, the dough is starting to come together nicely. All I've been doing is just continuing to add in any of the flour and then squeezing it into the mixture, and then trying to slowly start to form a bit of a ball or a disc. So you just want to sprinkle and squeeze, and then your dough will start to come together. And that's literally it, guys. So I'm just going to now tidy up any of these last scraps around here and incorporate it in. But the dough has come together really nicely. It's nice and smooth. It's quite soft in texture. There's no dry bits. So that'll be really nice. Now what you want to do is kind of mold it into the shape that you're going to use it. So I'm going to use this for an apple pie. So I want to make mine into a disc. And I'm probably just going to flatten it a little bit so it's easier to roll out when I want to use it. So I'm just going to flatten it a bit. So guys, make sure that you do put this in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours before you want to use it. And the reason why you chill the dough before use is because it relaxes the gluten strands, and it's just going to be easier to roll out tomorrow and it won't shrink while you bake. And you also want to bring it out of the fridge and just leave it on the bench, come to temperature for 30 minutes before you want to use it. Now we're going to start on our apple pie filling. So this apple filling can also be used for turnovers or tarts. It doesn't just have to be for the apple pie, but it's a really beautiful recipe. Let's get baking. In preparation for our apple pie filling, go and grab yourself a baking tray and line it with some parchment paper. You'll also need a medium to large size mixing bowl, a wooden spoon, and also turn on your oven to a medium heat, approximately 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. For the ingredients, you're going to need 1 kg of apples. I went with Granny Smith because the green ones are a little bit more tart. Then we've got some butter, some brown sugar, some vanilla, cinnamon, and just a little wedge of lemon here. I do have a secret ingredient in my apple pie filling, and that is caramel. So there's only one ingredient in that, and that is sweetened condensed milk. I have a video about how to make caramel from sweetened condensed milk in the microwave. It's really easy, make sure you check it out. All you need to do is place all of the ingredients except for the apples into the microwavable bowl, and we're going to melt it down. Just give it a little bit of a mix up. And we'll get this straight into the microwave. So mine was just in there for a minute, and I'm just going to bring it out, give it a bit more of a stir. And that looks pretty good. Doesn't have to be completely melted down, just mostly melted is fine. All that's left to do now is to peel and slice our apples. So time to get to work. 1 peeler, 1 knife. Wow, that was a bit of a mission, but we got there. So I've got my apples here, and now all that's left to do is to coat the apples in this beautiful saucy mixture that we made earlier, and then we're going to bake them in the oven until they're tender. So many apples. Done. We want to make sure that these don't go in the oven for too long. We don't want them mushy, we just want them tender, because remember, they're going to continue to cook in the pie later, so we just need them tender. Yummy, yummy, yummy. All right, these look so beautiful and the smell is absolutely amazing. You can tell the apples are nice and tender because they pierce quite easily. So they're soft to pierce, but they've still got a bit of crispness to them. So you don't want them to be too soft just yet. Now we're just going to use the apples. We're not going to use the juice that it's currently sitting in. So once they're cooked and beautiful and tender, just transfer them into a bowl and make sure you don't get all of the juice with it. We don't want the juice because it's going to make the pie too watery. And there you have it. Here is our beautiful apple filling, perfect for apple pie, tarts and turnovers. Apple pie, the crumble. Grab yourself a large mixing bowl and then I'll take you through the ingredients that you're going to need. We're going to be doing this recipe by hand, so jewelry off. Over here we've got some all-purpose flour, some rolled oats, we've got brown sugar, we've got some salt, some cinnamon, white sugar and butter. And for the full ingredients, you can check it out at lebonbaker.com, and I'll also include the quantities in the link below. All that we have to do is put all of our dry ingredients into the mixing bowl, give it a mix up, make sure it's all nice and incorporated, and then we're going to start adding the butter. And we're going to be using our hands, we're not going to be squeezing it, we're just going to be kind of crumbling it with our hands until it comes to a really nice texture. So throw it all in. That looks good, so I'm going to add in my butter, and don't worry if you've got some bigger chunks of brown sugar, it's just going to break up when we do the butter. So with your hands, just coat the butter with the flour mixture and then just lightly start to break it down into the crumble. So I'm just continuing to mix it and crumble, mix and crumble, mix and crumble, and I'm going to just keep doing this until it starts to form that correct texture. It's starting to form a really nice crumble here. You can break it down really easily. All the flour's got a little bit of butter coated in it, and it's that really nice crumbly texture that we want. This crumble can be made ahead of time. If you want to do that, all you have to do is make it, bag it and freeze it, and it'll be good to go as soon as you need to use it again. Our crumble is done and ready to add to the top of the pie. Apple pie, the pie crust. This is the one that we prepared earlier and it's now ready to roll out. Sprinkle your bench top with some flour. And we'll just place the dough in the center and start rolling it out from the center. I'm also going to lightly sprinkle the top so that my rolling pin doesn't stick to it. So from the center, start rolling out and make your way around. And we want this to be big enough to cover the whole base of the pie dish. Double check the base is rolled out nice and evenly, and you just pick up your dish as well and have a quick look and make sure that you've got enough to cover the bottom and the sides. And that looks pretty good. I'm just going to transfer this into our dish. So just lightly bring back the pastry and then pull it straight into the dish. And just fix it up, place it however you need. Beautiful, look at that. And pastry is really fun to work with, so if you don't have enough, you can cut a bit off one section and then fill it in another. So don't worry if it doesn't go completely around. I'm gonna just do a really quick trim of any excess. Perfect. One more thing, just give the base a little prick all over, and this will prevent it from going soggy. So we've got the beautiful apples that we roasted here earlier. We're going to put half of them in here and then put the beautiful caramel. We're going to drizzle that all over the top of it. It doesn't have to be perfect, just estimate half the apples, drizzle that sauce over, and then the rest of the apples on top. With the caramel, I did melt it in the microwave for 30 seconds just so it's nice and workable and will spread easily over the apples. If the caramel has clumped in certain areas, it's fine. Just try and give it a little spread. and then we'll add the rest of our apples. I had just a little bit of excess juice in my bowl here from the apples. Just try and get the apples out if you can. We don't want all of the juice as well because it'll just make it a little bit too wet. I've got our gorgeous crumble here ready to go, and I'm just going to spread it out over the top of the pie. Make sure that it's all covered. Some of the traditional apple pies have the pastry on top, and you can do that too if you like. You'll just need to double the recipe for the short crust pastry, but I like the crumble the best. I think it's the most delicious, so that's why we're making this one today. So I'm just going to fold in my edges here a little bit, and I'm just giving it a little indent as we go around, and it'll just make it look really pretty when we're finished, and yeah, it'll look gorgeous. Makes it look super homemade. Just before this pie goes into the oven, I'm just going to go around the sides of the pastry and just give it a little brush with some milk. I'm just doing milk here today, but usually you would do a little bit of egg wash. You can do either. If you've got a lot of pastry, I would go with egg wash instead of milk. Off to the oven, which has been preheated to 180 degrees or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Before and after. Well, 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 me oh my, look what we have done. It is absolutely amazing, so beautiful and brown all throughout. I can't wait to eat this apple pie. It's my all-time favorite. I'm sure you're gonna love it too. It's so beautiful. It's got that caramel filling as well, so you're gonna get little bursts of surprises throughout the apple pie. There you have it, guys. This is a homemade, beautiful apple pie recipe. It's as good or better than anything you're gonna get in a restaurant or cafe. Make sure you give it a go. There's nothing better than homemade. Now the whole house smells like apple pie and apple crumble. There will be no complaints from any of your friends or family once they walk through your kitchen. Thank you for joining me in the kitchen today. Make sure you give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Le Bon Baker, for all tips, tricks and recipes for the home baker.